Hello everybody, welcome to the final day of the 2020 World Snooker Championship. They're not even ready to go at the Crucible. But yesterday was amazing. Karen Wilson against Ronnie O'Sullivan. The rocket shoots out the 6-2 lead. Karen pegs him back. It's perfectly poised at 10-7. Now we're ready. It's all about history, you see.
Professional snooker champion, y9f. Once again, the professional snooker champion of the world, Steve Davis. The Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, your champion, Survey. 2019 World Snooker Champion,
It's another page of Crucible history to be written, but will the final word fall to Ronnie O'Sullivan or Karen Wilson? It's all live and uninterrupted right here on Eurosport. And with me, the man who's been here from the very first break. He will still be here when the winning ball is potted this evening. The incomparable Jimmy White. 2 words, carpe diem. After the fits and starts of yesterday, if Karen Wilson or Ronnie O'Sullivan truly shows up today, they take that trophy home.
Absolutely. You know, not one of them has played fantastic snooker yet. OK, it's the World Championships. They both had a grueling semi-final. They might have been tired. And Ronnie O'Sullivan went 6-2 up, then went 8-2 up. Karen made it 8-4. And it's ended up 10-7. But no one has really gone on and won 2 or 3 frames on the spin with 1 visit. I think if one of them does that, it will spur the other one on, and I think we're going to go to the wire.
What if, James Warren White, just dream with me, what if the Rocket and the Warrior both turn up today?
It will be a classic, and I think it might happen because now they know there's only 2 more sessions to go. Ronnie for his 6th world title, Karen for his dream. I think the adrenaline will be flowing, and I think we're going to see some great match play snooker. And
what Jimmy said is absolutely right. Karen Wilson may be 28, but he's cut from a very old snooker cloth, practicing down the clubs, admiring and worshipping the greats throughout the eras that we saw right at the top of the show. It's been his dream for his life to win the world title, but this year has brought that dream a little bit of perspective. Karen, the boy from Kettering is in the World Snooker Final.
Yeah, you know, awesome to hear those words. You know, very proud of where I come from, and I'm sure everyone in Kettering would have been delighted to see me sort of make it over the line, you know, in what was a very grueling match.
What would you say to that boy that had the cue and a dream all those years ago?
You know, keep working hard, your time's going to come. You know, I've stuck in there. I've had some heartbreaking defeats myself, some real sort of kicks in the teeth away from snooker. And yeah, I've stuck it out, sort of, you know, kept believing in my dreams. You know, we're not there yet. You know, I've still got a long way to go.
You don't want a runner-up check on Sunday night?
No, definitely not. I'm not here for the money. You know, I'm here to sort of leave a legacy. You know, I want my name on that trophy. I want my picture up around the Crucible. And to do that, you know, I'm really going to have to go some, you know, against my opponent in the final.
4 quarter-finals, a semi-final, a final now. You've finally reached the promised land, the place that
every snooker player, when he picks up a cue, wants to end up the final at the Crucible. Who got you there?
You know, lots of people. I've had a great foundation behind me, lots of support. My mum and dad have remortgaged the house multiple times. Obviously, my brother's on tour with me. My wife has taken on board my demons when I've not been, you know, having such a good time of it. You know, a great coach in Barry Stark. We've worked very hard on a solid technique. A lady called Carla Drew, who I've not mentioned before. She's been working mentally with me and she's done a fantastic job. And obviously, you know, my manager, who sadly has recently lost his life, gave everything to me, even when he was at his most poorest. And yeah, just learning off people like that, you know, and having them in your corner has led me to this moment.
And now you walk out with all of those people on your shoulder and all of those people lifting you up. Do you believe?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I'm down to the last two. It's a really, really gruelling, tough tournament to win. I've shown in the past I've got what it takes to go deep here. You know, this is obviously the deepest that I've ever been. But yeah, I've got to go some to win that final. But I'll be giving it my all.
Well, I tell you something, if you spend 5-10 minutes in the company of Karen Wilson, it's impossible not to like the kid. I can call him that. I'm 43 years old. It's been tough for him this year, and he feels things.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we was there at the Masters when he lost to Mark Allen. He had tears because that's how much he meant to him. His wife has been waiting for an operation in lockdown. He lost his manager, Brandon Parker, who's been a great influence on snooker. He shared Barry Hearn's dream of taking this game global. So that was a sad loss for him. So he has had a very tough year.
In a way, though, as he said, that perspective that it brings, it can maybe just take 10% of pressure off. Not just because who's doing it for, but also because when that becomes the be-all and end-all, it can ruin a player.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've had nightmares with it, but I think in lockdown everybody realises, you know, that family is the most important thing. It's woken everybody up to that. And I think now, him being in the final, going into the third session of the World Championship, his dream, only 10-7 behind from 8-2. He must think he's got every chance of becoming world champion.
You know, it'd be really interesting if it does go close, Jimmy, just to see if he can handle the enormity of the occasion. Everything it means, and everyone he would be winning it for. But that's what's made it delicious from the semi-finals. We had two people who'd never won it, two people who'd won it loads, and we knew we were going to get a final of real contrast.
I think also McGill, and I don't think they'll be phased if it comes to, you know, the winning line. I think they're both sort of, this day and age, they've watched so many finals and know what they have to do and have done that in matches. So I think he'll be okay, Karen, if he gets to that final moment.
Yeah, OK, well, it is time to let the fans in. It is time for us to make the short walk to the studio. And when we come back, it's time for the rocket.
It's the World Championship final. It's Ronnie O'Sullivan for a sixth time, or it's Karen Wilson for a first. And this audience, who are here somewhat unexpectedly at the last minute, are loving every second of this.
He's left it on.
Ronnie O'Sullivan takes control of the final.
It's just not happening for Kyra at the moment. Another frame goes south for Kyra Wilson. Ronnie O'Sullivan's turning the screw. That is another mistake from O'Sullivan, and maybe this final is just beginning to turn a little. Another half-century from Kyra Wilson, and he's making a real final of this now. Surely that must have been a kick. He's missed it by that far. He's missed the red, and he's left the red. What drama to end the session. Ronnie O'Sullivan has been well below his best, and yet he leads by 3 at the halfway point of the World Final.
Welcome back from chat of a session to spare, the speculation of an epic evening ahead at the Crucible. 8 frames this afternoon will very much influence all of our plans this evening. We've already heard from Karen, so let's catch up now with Ronnie O'Sullivan.
To have made the final, you know, off of the amount of tournaments that I've played, you know, it is good, you know. And like I say, I've been working on just trying to be more solid, hit more stronger shots. You know, some of the distance shots, which has been my Achilles heel, you know, trying to work on that sort of stuff. And, you know, you do a lot of work on the practice table and you come to the match table and you just want it all to come together. And sometimes you're out there and you think it's not really happening, but you manage to find a bit of form at the right time. And you think, is that because of the practice and the preparation I put in? I hope it is, because, you know, I believe in karma, you know, and if you do the right things, then sometimes the right things come to you.
The final, Karen Wilson, a hugely passionate snooker player who's absolutely been brought up with it, lived and breathed. It's part of that next generation as well, along with Judd Trump, and he wants to get to the end of his career and have more world titles than Judd. He probably wants to have more than you. He's hugely motivated.
And I think he can do it. You know, he's super young. He's what I call a proper snooker player. You know, you can see, you know, he's taken some defeats hard, but you just know that he was always learning from them. You know, he wasn't coming away from them broken. He was coming away thinking, right, how do I become a better player? A bit like me reading the Joe Davis book. He works very hard with his coach. You know, they're always, you know, Barry Stark. You know, he's a great coach, and they're always on the table. So for me, that shows that he's in the sport for the right reasons. He wants to win titles, you know, and 100% he will. Because he wants it so bad, and if you want it that bad, you make it happen, you know. So, you know, he's what I call a proper player, and there's not many of them about, you know. A lot of the young players coming through there, they're like, I call them iPhone players, and you know, they're always playing games and they're on their phones. Whereas Kyron, you know, he's one of the players that puts his phone away, and it's a job and it's a business, and he's serious about what he's doing, you know. It's not in my style to play defensive sort of snooker, you know, and I felt like I've had to play quite defensive in this tournament for quite a lot of times because, like I said, I haven't been hitting enough solid shots regular enough to allow me to hit the white with authority to then sort of start playing real aggressive snooker. So I've had to kind of hold back a lot because a lot of the power shots I haven't had the accuracy for, so I've had to kind of rein it in a bit. But every now and again I thought, I've got to try and make something happen. So in every match I've kind of found, you know, enough solid shots that have enabled me to kind of have a good session or get me back in the match or finish the match off strong. So, you know, it hasn't been a vintage performance really, not like 2012 and 2013 where, you know, I don't think anyone got near me, you know, in any of the matches, which is great, you know. But when you're hitting a lot of solid shots, you can do that here. But this year I've had to, you know, really fight for it and, you know, and just try and post a score, get a number on the score sheet, you know.
Well, let's continue talking about Ronnie by heading to the commentary box to join a man who usually steals all of Jimmy's chocolate out of the green room, the brilliant Neil Foulds. What are you thinking, Pat?
Yeah, thanks, Colin. A lot of emotion in last night. Not always great snooker. We're playing out of season, don't forget, and the table was playing up a little bit. Kyron Wilson had fought like a lion to get really close. He could have been one frame behind. Let's have a look at what happened in frame 17. It was pretty dramatic stuff. Now, Ronnie got lucky at the beginning of this. Now, look at this. He's playing the red. He's flicked the other red on the way through, and he's flicked a second red and got a fluke. He's got a kiss on the brown, and all of a sudden, the fighting from Kyron Wilson has not counted for much, and he's more than a bit disappointed. He cannot believe that fluke, all the effort he's put in. O'Sullivan, though, had a bit of bad luck of his own. I mean, this is a horrible kick. I mean, the balls have gone through. Ronnie is like a crumpled heap on the table. This is the kind of drama only the Crucible, you know, can bring. Now, this I didn't fancy. This table's playing tight, that's the point, and it was frame ball with the black, and this is Kyron's emotion. Ronnie's got to pot the black, and it's a natural to come up for the yellow. He only leads up to and including the pink, and never has Ronnie had to fight so hard just for a frame win. And in it goes. For a second, he wasn't even sure whether he needed the black. The session's over. Kyron battled hard. Ronnie has got the edge, but just watch him when he comes off the table. He looks pretty drained. This man is fighting for his 6th world title like he's never had to do before. What a day we've got in store. Either Ronnie's going to be a champion again, or Kyron Wilson will be newly crowned as the world champion. I can't wait.
Same here, absolutely same here. Cannot wait to get out there. I wish we could just make it happen now, but we'll fill the 5 minutes until it does. He makes a really good point, Fouldsy at the top as always. Just keeps mentioning the summer season every time we talk to him. It's changed the whole complexion of the atmosphere in there. We see Kyron constantly wiping his cue,
all the time. Today's a little different. The humidity is gone. This is what the World Championship is usually like. It has been peeing down all day. It is cold. It is damp. I think it's going to help a lot.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully we won't get as many kicks as we've had during this tournament. So far, there's been a huge amount of kicks and a few mistakes by both players. And I think key for either player who's going to go on and win this World Championships is to keep their discipline and go on a roll and score heavy. You know, at the moment, they've both not scored at all. And they get frustrated. When you're a top player and you've got a chance to win the frame and the balls are there and you only get 30 or 40, you go back to your seat and sometimes it's hard to get rid of that moment and get ready for the next.
Bang right. Sometimes when Ronnie gives interviews, everyone thinks he's being obtuse and he's being awkward. He said this whole tournament, he can't find his cue action, he can't find consistency. And bar the first round against Tipchai, who plays the perfect snooker for Ronnie, by the way, he hasn't.
Yeah, you know, you see him miss that black. You know, these are shots that you can see how disappointed. The cue's like over the shoulder. Yeah. He's not himself. Here he sort of played a pot safety. If he misses it, he's got the blocker. But these are shots that O'Sullivan, they're bread and butter shots for O'Sullivan. He will be frustrated.
Without doubt, his worst session of his 2020 campaign was yesterday evening in the final.
Absolutely, you know, and that was through a good Karen. You know, he didn't, from 8-2 down, he found something to stay in the match. But when Ronnie O'Sullivan talks about his cue action, you know, OK, you said the first match. I agree with you. He was superb in that first match. With Ding, there was bits and pieces. With Mark Williams, he was 6-2 down and found something. And with Mark Selby, he looked like going out and he was brilliant for 3 frames. So he's got to believe that his cue action's not that bad and sort of just focus on the job in hand.
It's by his unparalleled standards, but he has had a bit of the Higgins about him in terms of digging in and staying in games and coming back into games. With Karen, what is really exciting about today is he can play much better, even though he came back from 8-2 to 10-7 and could have been better. 3 or 4 moments, by the way, where 3 moments I would say where Ronnie got very lucky. But by the century in frame 16, he can score much better, no matter how tight those pockets are.
Make no mistake, you know, there was a good red there. You know, he was very humpty over the red on the black spot. It's a difficult shot. Pots this red, perfect on the black, and goes on to make a century break here. You know, so Karen Wilson's got absolutely everything. You know, if anything, he does lose his cue ball now and again. But if he was to find his cue ball in this next session, and Ronnie's to find his game, I think we're going to go all the way. I really do think it's one of them matches that's not sort of set on fire yet, but it's going to.
Are you cautious at this stage? If you're Ronnie, you've got a 3-frame lead. If you split the session, you'll be odds on. You'll be way odds on. Or can you not be cautious? Can you not go out and think about not losing it? You just got to think about winning it.
Well, see, listen, I didn't win the world title. I won everything else. I was in 6 finals, and you know, I know how it is to sort of, you know, be in that moment. You've got to stay calm. Sometimes you don't. If you keep looking at the scoreboard and not playing the games, you can get a little bit confused. And I think with O'Sullivan's experience, he's just got to focus on getting to 18 and just focus on his shots when he's in the balls and not thinking about cue action and putting the arm out and all that, because you're just giving your opponent clues that you're struggling.
Yeah, I feel like we want to have the final today that we thought we would have yesterday, and if we're honest, we didn't really get.
No, but as we spoke many times, they're both grueling semi-finals. You know, that must have took a lot out of both players. And I think, OK, he was 8-2 up, Ronnie O'Sullivan, but that could have easily been, you know, equal score for both players. So Karen's come back, got back into the match, and Ronnie's played bad in that session, but I'm sure they're going to both kick into gear now because they both want to win this title so bad. We're going to see some quality snooker.
Sport is always so special when a golden generation in its autumnal years takes on the next generation in a big final, and that's what we have here. And snooker throws it up all the time. We're sport. Ronnie's 44. People forget that. We start getting into the upper echelons of how old you can be to win this title. And you get Karen Wilson, who's 28 years old in his first final. You have to make a decision. Are you an old romantic or are you a progressive when you're choosing who you want to win?
And I think Ronnie's such a perfectionist as well. I think it affects him when he makes these elementary mistakes, which does creep into your game as you get older. You miss a lot more easy balls. Remember Mark Williams saying, I know that, you know, I can pot any ball, but I can also miss any ball. When you have them doubts in your mind, you know, it can knock your confidence a bit. But I think we've got a great final coming up. Yeah. And I really do think it's going to go to the wire.
I'm really surprised that less than what Karen Wilson has got to think about is that well that he went to yesterday evening from 8-2 down. Of us, but of course this is your home of snooker, and we will be live at the European Masters, the English Open, the Shootout, the Northern Ireland Open, the UK Championship, the Scottish Open and the World Grand Prix before Christmas Day. All of them live here on your home of snooker. Jimmy, a quick overview of the 4 frames as we see that the score has very much tilted once again in the favour of the Rocket. He's opened up a 5-frame gap, a second biggest lead of this final. It looked like it was going to be so different.
Yeah, Karen started off really, really well. They've both clicked into gear, as I predicted, that they would play well today. Ronnie O'Sullivan looks much more ease with his cue action, we're going to show you in a minute. And Wilson's not really done a lot wrong, just the odd positional shot here, miss pink in the middle. Apart from that, he's been superb. Yeah. But if you make mistakes with Ronnie O'Sullivan, when he's in gear and he's flowing, you're going to be punished.
Right, and that's exactly what happened, but not after this great start from Karen Wilson. This is exactly what he would have thought of first thing this
frame's over. You know, they're both sort of both connected now, and they must both feel very, very confident. But unfortunately for Karen, he's now 5 behind.
Yeah, listen, Neil Foulds, we know what he's like in a disco. He cut some rug, that boy. Oh, my goodness, best night. He's absolute filth.
He's always at the bar.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You want to see him groove. He can do everything. He can do the mashed potato. But even he didn't like this. What's going on playing?
A bad miss, I'm afraid. You know, a big time, because Ronnie then, you know, got into his stride and he just looks like he's back to his brilliant best. There's no arms going in the air or any cue action. It's all business.
He said hopefully snooker karma would pay off, because he did practice so much coming into the tournament, and he's had that self-belief of it'll work for me like it did at the end of Selby. That might be what we're seeing. And as you say, we now get into this Jimmy frame 20 where Karen now knows he's clicked.
To punch that in middle ball and get position on the pink like that, you've got to be cueing well. So that, even though he'd won the frame, that to give Ronnie an awful lot of confidence.
The reason why you get frustrated with Karen in this point is out of love, because he's in the conversation for the best rest player in the world. He's a fantastic long putter. He's got an elite safety game. Everything else is there. And I think what frustrates you is this has been a problem for a while, judging him at the highest level. And if it was fixed, if it was half fixed, the mind boggles as to what he could win.
Well, listen, Stephen Hendry worked on Neil Robertson's game. Neil Robertson was very similar to that with his positional play, and then all of a sudden he become a machine. Now this kid could become a machine as well, because what he's doing is making it more difficult for himself when it should be plain sailing. They're easy positional shots and he makes them hard. But he's got so much confidence in his potting that he just gets on with it, and 9 times out of 10 he does a recovery shot, but eventually they're going to catch you up.
Always know when Jimmy's getting passionate with me, he moves closer to me and I have to step this way so we don't get kicked out at any stage. All right, let's have a look at the final frame of the first 4 of this third session of the...
And that was a fantastic shot. 2 cushions there, very difficult pot, makes it look so easy. But the greatest thing with Ronnie, not is he just a great potter, when he does click, he makes it look so easy because he's got such great cue ball control.
Yeah, and Karen Wilson, as we head to the break, he finds himself in the situation of, even if he does click, if Ronnie stays playing like this, it already may be too far. But if this tournament has taught us anything, don't get ahead of ourselves. It has thrown up some of the most amazing moments, and that trophy, well, nobody's got 2 hands on it yet, believe me. Possible to think about, but important to note. We're on tonight at 7:15 on Eurosport 1 for the culmination of the 2020 World Snooker Final. Unfortunately, that score is not complete. It's 13-8 to Ronnie O'Sullivan. There are 4 frames left to play in just a couple of minutes. But right now, there was only one person in the whole world that was guaranteed a ticket and a front row seat for today, and that was Barry Hearn, the boss of World Snooker, and he's been reminiscing with Eurosport about this unique championship.
I think the reflection has been frustration early doors of a small crowd and then no crowd. Absolute relief and joy at the fact that we've got a live audience for the final itself. The matches, I mean, I shall never, I've been coming to the Crucible for over 40 years, never seen 2 semi-finals go to the deciding frame, for example. This game seems to throw up moments of drama that you can't anticipate, and it's been a wonderful experience for everybody. And it's a statement that sport is so important to us in our lives, and sport is back and it's being led by snooker. We're into the championship rounds. What people always say in boxing, it's not the first few rounds, it's not the middle rounds. It's when you get towards the winning line, it's when you approach the championship rounds. And that's when you find out who wants it most. There's two players out there that would cut an arm and a leg off to win it, and they would still both be fabulous players. We're the lucky ones. We don't have the mental anguish that they're going to be going through today. I thought they both looked physically exhausted yesterday. This is a marathon, not a sprint. 17 days. We're on day 17. The weak have wilted. They've ebbed away on the tide of normality. We're back now with the creme de la creme, fighting for the one thing that money can't buy. It's called being the champion.
Well, it's good to see Barry back in such good health on behalf of all of us. And we know when he's back to full health when his mouth works like that. But I'm going to say, strip down what he says, I back him. There's even players stood here and said it's not like a world championship. I say, take me to those two semi-finals, take me to how we felt watching it, and tell me that wasn't everything. Yes, it would have been better with 800 fans, but you tell me that wasn't real, because it was. Anyone says anything, David's talking out of where you know where.
Once the players got in the venue, got used to no crowds, it was business as usual. And, to put on this tournament, Barry Hearn and World Snooker have done a fantastic job, because there's a lot of work gone behind the scenes for it to go ahead. And it's turning out to be a classic.
Yeah, and it's not a sing-along sport, no matter how many times there's efforts to make it like that. Even there, when they put Disco Inferno, when everyone's like, you having a laugh? Turn it off. Wind the neck in, as we say back home. So we watch it from our sofas. We watched it relaxed. The commentators don't talk non-stop. You get yourself a cup of tea or a beer and you ease into it. You're part of a journey. Some of it's boring. You get to those moments. So the experience hasn't changed from that point of view?
No, not at all. This tournament's been incredible. We've had 147 from John Higgins. Yes. We've had 2 semi-finals go to the last frame, and you've got Karen Wilson, first time in the final of the World Championship, probably playing the greatest player of all time. Everything's happening.
There you go. Next, Barry Hearn, right here. Well, listen, if Karen Wilson doesn't pull his finger out when we come back, we could be going to the disco tonight. We'll have time. See you in a bit. Brief one. For those few people who have tickets for tonight, they were expecting a rocket and a warrior. They might get a whirlwind as well thrown in for good measure, because they always put an exhibition on if it goes quick, and that means Jimmy White would be buying the drinks at the end of tonight's show. James, you said at some stage Ronnie is going to click into gear, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, he's the second frame, if Karen would have potted that pink and stole that frame, it could have been a different situation, but he let Ronnie off. Ronnie clicked into gear, and when he starts producing breaks like that and cue ball control like that, he is near enough impossible to beat.
Right now, there's definitely a TV boss out there saying, build it up, guys, we're never going to lie to you. It's not impossible, because nothing's impossible in live sport, but it's 99.99% possible that we're going to turn one of those 9s upside down and get a 6 for Ronnie O'Sullivan. Let's not build it.
Listen, he's 20,000 to 1 on to win this World Championship now, because of that great play today. It's impossible, because he's only got to win 1 frame. And Karen Wilson has had a great World Championships. He's got to be very proud of what he's done, but I am afraid it's over now. Yeah, our build-up tonight will probably be more like a tribute to the 2020 winner-elect. But let's go through these frames one by one. Frame 22, we'll start with this Wilson yellow, and as we said, this makes it look so easy, and he scores so quick. Yeah. So all of a sudden you're sitting in your chair. It's gone from, what was the score to start at this morning?
It was 10-7. It was 10-7, Jimmy.
10-7, 10-7, 10-8. And then all of a sudden, like, before you know where he is, he's won 3 or 4 frames, which we know he can do. And when he clicks into gear, he is unplayable.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at frame 23. It wasn't as spectacular as those last 3 games against Mark.
No, he's got to, like, you know, the game is difficult himself. And if his cue action is not there, which I'm sure he'll go on about later on, you know, but he did click into gear there, as everyone can see. So, you know, and fantastic snooker. He played like that in his first match, and the bits of that with Mark Williams, and then with Mark Selby. You know, Mark Selby played fantastic in this World Championship as well. You know, he's definitely back playing good and all.
By the way, as we look at frame 24, now, if you want to play Ronnie Bingo for the interview when he comes up here later, I would back at the end of this frame, he thought the session was over. Yeah. And that tells you a lot about where the mind can go. Yeah. The simple mathematics goes, Jimmy. I mean, I'm not doing it. You're been there where the mathematics can even go, the most simplest things.
Yeah, you know, your mind can get fogged, and, you know, and he's not been in a world final before. Let's not forget that. And his match with Anthony McGill went all the way, and I'm sure that took a lot out of him, even though he come back well from 8-2 down. But maybe, you know, he'd run out of steam.
Well, last frame this afternoon, Ronnie went marching on quite literally, because he was going, right, have the victory party now, out of respect, albeit not kidding anyone on is going to finish any other way. But just give me a little bit of perspective before we head off air for a little bit about the achievement of a semi-retired 44-year-old genius being able to be 16-8 up in the world final. I nearly said the W word, but I didn't say it.
No, he's incredible. You know, he did prepare well for this tournament. You know, the way he played in his first match against Tepchire, you knew he was hitting the ball. Okay, he's away from home a long time. His fiance's here today, and, you know, probably you know, that might have changed a bit from yesterday. You know, it's a long old tournament, 17 days. And, you know, when he gets it together, though, Ronnie, and when his mindset's right through running and all that, which he does, which he really enjoys, you know, he's just an incredible snooker player. There's nothing else you can say.
Just maybe more relaxed today. Let's have a look then at the time we're coming back on air this evening. I know you'll join us no matter what. You've been here the whole way. 7:15 then. Ronnie O'Sullivan against Karen Wilson. I said 16-8, didn't it? 17-8, of course. One more frame to win the world title. Well, listen, we did hope to bring you. We even speculated that we would be bringing you a nail-biting conclusion to the 2020 World Snooker Final. But in a change to the scheduled programming instead, we're going to be bringing you the joy of 6. See you then.